welcome back. I'm Diane Deziel, and today I'm finishing the pattern of my shirt. I'm doing the sleeve and the cuff. To do the sleeve, we're going to need some measurement from the bodice. The measurements are going to be the armhole measurement. So you're going to trace your seam line and you're going to measure from the underarm. Make sure you stop at the notch, write down the measurement, then continue to have the full armhole measurement until the intersection of the shoulder. The next measure we need from the bodice is the height of the sleeve head, or where to trace the bicep line. And the block is going to give us the maximum we could put for the sleeve head. So we'll take the front and we'll overlap to the back at the underarm point. Now you make sure that your front grain line is parallel with your back grain line. Then you take a ruler and you're going to place it touching the shoulder and armhole point on both back and front. Then with another ruler, you're going to measure from about the halfway between front and back until the underarm point. For my example today, I got 22 centimeter. Now to get the maximum height for my sleeve head, you're going to subtract about 3.5 centimeter. So for my example, I will get 18.5 as a maximum sleeve head. Now I'm going to show you why I said that measurement was a maximum. So I took a little stripe of cardboard and I folded so I create a loop. Now I'm going to put my ruler inside and I'm going to place the top part of the loop at 18.5, just like the measurement I found for the maximum. Now you're going to place the 0 point right at the intersection of the shoulder and the armhole. And to find the angle that measurement would give us, you're going to pivot your ruler until the top of the little stripe of cardboard is going to touch the underarm point. Now you see the angle of my ruler according to the grain line. This is the angle that you get with the 18.5 centimeter sleeve head. That means this angle is telling you how much you could raise your arm before your garment start to pull towards the top. Today we're not going to use the minimum because it's not so comfortable. And according to the image, the sleeve looks much more comfortable. I'm going to show you how I decide how much I put for my sleeve head or the bicep level. So now I'm going to try with a sleeve head of 14 centimeter instead of the 18.5. So I move my little cardboard until the 14. And now I do the same thing again, holding the 0 point. I'm going to pivot my ruler until the top of the cardboard touch the underarm point. Now you could see that the angle is much higher. So this is how much you could raise your arm before the garment is start to pulling up. I could give you a lot more example changing the measurement, and you will see that the more you reduce the sleeve head measurement, the higher you could go without the garment to pull up. For today's example, I will use my 14 centimeter. So it's just like that. Now to do the pattern of my sleeve, since from the bicep line to the bottom, it's all symmetrical, I took a piece of paper and I fold it in the middle. Now on the fold line, you're going to measure the sleeve length, the normal sleeve length, and you're going to put a reference on top and at the bottom. For my example, my basic sleeve length is 58 centimeter. Now to that measurement, first you're going to subtract what we add or elongate at the shoulder. Here it's 1.5. Then for my style, I said that I'm going to do a cuff at the bottom. So we have to decide the width of that cuff and subtract to the sleeve length half of the width of the cuff. If I want a cuff of 5 centimeter, I'm going to subtract another 2.5. So right away, I'm going to measure from my bottom point 4 centimeter higher. And from that point, I'm going to square a line for the bottom of my sleeve. Now from the top of the sleeve, I'm going to measure down the 14 centimeter that I decide for the bicep line. Then I'm going to also square a line across my paper. Now you're going to take your armhole measurement that you found for the back and for the front. You're going to write them down and add your back to your front. Now the total that you found, you divide it by 2. Now you take that half armhole measurement that we found and you're going to place your ruler 0 at the sleeve head and pivot the ruler until that 26 centimeter touch the bicep line that we already traced. Then we could trace. Now we're going to move at the bottom of the sleeve and we'll place the width of the sleeve at the bottom. So for this one, it's going to be an open cuff. So you could take the measurement of your wrist and add like a 2 centimeter ease. For my example, I will start with a 20 centimeter. So now I'm going to place half of that 20 centimeter from the fold. To that measurement, I'm going to add the value of the pleat. I'm going to make 2 pleat, but since I'm working on a half sleeve, I'm going to add the value of 1 pleat, and I'm going to do a pleat of 2 centimeter. Then I'm going to add a little overlap because, as you know, I'm going to have a little buttonhole and button. So here I'm going to add an extra 1.5. Now I could connect the underarm point to the bottom of the sleeve. Now before to open my cardboard, so I could trace my armhole back and front, I'm going to trace with the tracing wheel the intersection of the underarm seam and the sleeve head, and also at the bottom, underarm seam with the bottom. Now I'm going to connect those dots. Now we're ready to do the sleeve head curve. So we decide which side is going to be the front, which side will be the back. I'm going to start with the front, where I'm going to divide my line in 2, then each section again in 2. Now to trace the curve, we're going to put little reference. So at the first quarter, you're going to measure 1 centimeter towards the top. And at the last quarter, you're going to measure 1 centimeter towards the bottom. Now we could trace, starting at the sleeve head, curving up to touch the 1 centimeter up, then all the way to the middle point, then curving down until the 1 centimeter down, and finish at the underarm point. For the back curve, we're going to look at the segment and divide it by 3. Now we place the little reference. So at the first third, you're going to go up about 1.5 centimeter. Then between the last third and the underarm point, pretty much halfway, you go down about 5 millimeter. Now we could trace the curve from the sleeve head, touching the 1.5 up, then passing by the second third, then curving down, touching the 0.5, and all the way to the underarm point. Now that the sleeve head is traced, we're going to take the notch measurement. So from the underarm, we got the measurement for back and front, and we'll place them on the sleeve from the underarm point, and we do it also for the back. For the shoulder notch, or the one on top at the sleeve head, we will take the back armhole measurement minus the front armhole measurement. I got a difference of 1.2, and the notch is going to be towards the smallest armhole. So in that case, it's my front that is smaller. So towards the front at half the distance. In that case, 6 millimeter. Now we're going to complete the bottom of the sleeve. To do a good job or a good pattern, we usually shape it a little bit, making the back part a little longer and the front a little bit shorter. And this is due to the bending of the arm. First, I'm going to find the quarter of my sleeve. So I'm going to divide each side by 2. Then I'm going to add about 1 centimeter at the 1/4 of the back. Then at the front, you could go up about 5 millimeter. I'm going to ask you to put about 5 millimeter down on each of the underarm seam. Now we're going to trace, connecting all the dots with a nice curved line from the 0.5 down, 0.5 up, the middle point 1 centimeter down, and the 0.5 down. We're going to trace the sleeve opening on the back side at the 1/4, 90 degrees with the original bottom line, and this line is going to be between 8 and 9 centimeter. Now we're going to place the pleat. If you remember, I put 2 centimeter for pleat, but my paper was folded, so in fact I have 4 centimeter for 2 pleats. I'm going to place them from the sleeve opening towards the front. I will start with a little distance of about 1.5 centimeters, so I could do my bias finishing around the opening, my first notch. Then I'm going to place my 2 centimeter pleat. Then again a little distance for my second pleat, maybe another 1.5. Then the second pleat of 2 centimeter. I usually do is little arrows for the folding of my pleat, and we'll do the little folding and it's going to give you a little jog for those 2 pleats. Now, just like I said, and following the arrow, we're going to fold a little bit the 2 pleat, the front side first. And you're going to bring the first side over the second one. We do that for both pleats. When both pleats are done, we could do a little correction to the line. Then we could trace with the tracing wheel to get the jog. The sleeve is finished. We could just add seam allowance and cut all around. We just have the cuff left to do, so you could take a little piece of cardboard and fold it so we do only half the cuff. For this one, I'm going to do a cuff in 1 piece. So I'm going to do a rectangle with twice the width that I talked about before. It was 5 centimeter, so now I'm going to do my rectangle 10 centimeter. From each of these points, I'm going to trace a square line. On one of these lines, I'm going to place the measurement that I wanted for my finished cuff, plus the 1.5 that I added for the overlap. Now we're going to close the rectangle, touching the last point, square with the bottom line. Then we add the seam allowance all around. Then we could cut. Now, because it's never too late, I'm going to show you what kind of cuff we just did. So it is starting and finishing at the sleeve opening. Just like we did, there's a little space before the first pleat, and you see your 2 pleats towards the front. Here's the underarm seam, so the little space here. And what I wanted you to look at is that because the cuff is starting and finishing at the opening, we don't need to put notch for the overlap. The grain line for the sleeve is, of course, right in the middle, so on the fold of the paper, and the sleeve is cut twice. Now the cuff, you must know that the grain line could be both direction or parallel to the fold, but very often it's 90 degrees from the fold. And this cuff is also going to be cut twice. A last little thing that I usually do is to cut the slit, even on my pattern. I usually cut both sides of my line. As you saw, I just pull on that little line, and this way, when I do trace my sleeve on the fabric, I could also trace my sleeve opening. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy. Some of you already asking me if I'm going to show the assembling of the shirt, and the answer is yes in a future video. Thanks for watching, and I see you next time.